Welcome back to the Motorgraph World channel. My name is Mari, and as you can see, today we have the GV70 3.5 liter turbo engine. So let's take a look. First thing that actually came into my sight is this little gap on the hood here. We did mention it when we saw it in the showroom. It comes all the way down here on top of the lights, so there is a natural gap to what you can normally see on the cars. So that might, I don't know, come into the eyes of those people who are a little bit more particular. I personally like the non-sports package on this color. Maybe it looks a little bit better on the white, but with the silver or dark silver, I think that the chrome looks a bit better. So now we're looking at the side profile. Once again, I do really like the side profile of this car. You have first the parabolic line that goes through all the way to the end of the car. So it just gives you a nice refined, streamlined line all the way through. And I like the fact that it's very simple on the side. You don't have a lot of character lines going on. You don't have a lot of volume changes. It's pretty flat and simple, which is what I like. You also have the 21-inch wheels that are attached. I like these much better than the sports package ones because remember the kind of waffle type of patterns that were on the sports wheels? That kind of freaked me out, but I like this one and it's nice and big. So I hope that a lot of our viewers like this one as well. One other thing that I'd like to point out is the roof line. Its curvature is very sleek and elegant. I really do like it, but there is one catch. I think because of the coupe-like design at the back, it might give you less of a room in your trunk. It depends on what you like, but I think that maybe it doesn't have that much room on top, so that might be a limitation. I also found one thing. Here is a sticker. I'm not sure if this is applicable to all markets, but before Hyundai had a sticker with the towing version, and they had the Santa Fe before, but now they've changed it to, I think it's the GV80. They've attached the sticker with the GV80 on the GV70, but nonetheless, that's a small change for the overall company. I really do like this design. I think that it's very aesthetically pleasing. If you were to ask me what's my one pick out of all of the Genesis models, it would definitely be the GV70. There's a lot of debate on whether it looks a lot like the Macan or not, but personally, I think that it has its own character. But the backside slightly does look like the Macan, I have to admit. But nevertheless, I think that it's very pretty. Also, once again, the back lights are split into 4 different pieces, giving the Genesis identity and the family look. And you also have the wipers down here. One thing that I did notice on the streets with the GV70 when I actually saw them was they have a really nice brake light. So there's a fine line that goes through all the way in the back, and when you step on the brakes, this one turns on and it just gives it a nice touch. So I thought that that looked good out on the roads. Also with the crest grill-like pattern here on the bumper, but then again, this is plastic, so take note of that. So now let's pop open the trunk. As I mentioned before, this is a coupe line, so you see that this angle is quite slanted. You might not be able to fit in so much compared to the larger trunk models. Let's take the Mari trunk test. There is the wider part of the trunk, and then because of the wheel, there is the tighter part. But then if you look at the overall length, I think that it's quite spacious. But in terms of the height of the trunk, you get up to maybe my nose or my eyes in terms of the overall height. So because of this angle, the slant in the coupe line, you might not be able to fit in so much for the luggage. But then again, you can fold up these seats and make more room for your luggage. So if you do have a lot of things to store, try folding up the second row seats. I am sitting very comfortably in my seat position, and it's quite high up. So where I'm sitting right now, I do see a little bit of the bonnet or the hood that's popping up. It doesn't mean that it's too narrow and it's uncomfortable, but compared to others, you might not have that much visibility in terms of the height. And now with the seats, I've adjusted my seat to the seat position that I'm comfortable with. In terms of comfort and the cushion, it's not strong, but it's not way too soft. It's right in the middle. So I think that a lot of people will find it quite comfortable. You don't have that much lumbar support at the back or the down part here. I guess that is adjustable. And as for the lumbar support and the side bolsters, of course, if you turn on the sports mode, then it will automatically adjust for the driver. It gives you a little bit more support in the driver's seat position, so that's a good plus. In terms of the materials used, I do feel that it's higher quality. It's fine leather and it's very soft. It's a preference. I personally don't like these quilting. I'm not really getting it too much, nor the perforated seats. I just like my seats to be just simple and smooth. And now onto the digital dashboard. It's very digital, so all of it is digitized. There were some comments from reviews that it's kind of hard to see because of it's not synced that correctly. I don't have a problem with it, but maybe at night it might look a little bit out of focus. As for the materials used, I mentioned that it's very soft leather. Also for these parts right here, they've covered it with leather. I really love this line that goes all the way through and you see the air vents hidden. And so I like that it's not really out there and that it's very discreet. And now for the digital screen, it's a very long horizontal screen that you see. I like it because it's not popping up too much and that it doesn't really hinder your line of sight. But then again, there is the drawback that you don't have a lot of different things going on, or you don't have a large screen for the satellite navigation. But for me, if it was choosing between the two, I would definitely go with this horizontal type. And now inside here, you also have the control panels for the HVAC. In the middle, you have the touch screen. And on the sides, as well as the bottom, it's the analog button or the dials. I do like the fact that I can push the buttons, or some of the buttons, and then some of them are left for the touch screen. The middle part being the touch is very simple and it's intuitive. However, the details on these buttons are not as great because you don't have uniform gaps in between. Of course, this is again being very picky, but then the gaps in between the different buttons are not even. Some of them are closer together, some of them are further apart, so that's just the finishing details. And now for the water bottles. I have 2 cup holders right here in the center console. You also have one each on the door trims. And I believe that you can get more water bottles inside here. Oh, it's quite deep inside. So you'll be able to comfortably fit in, I think, about 4 of these water bottles if you place them down. And now for the glove compartment. The glove compartment isn't that big. It's just a small opening, but I guess you wouldn't be using it that much. As for water bottles, you'll be able to fit approximately 2, maybe not 3, just about 2 water bottles. You have an area where you can wirelessly charge your phone. However, it's quite deep and narrow. So for people who have big hands, I think it might be a little bit difficult if you have something stuck in there to take that out. For example, if you have your car keys inside here, it will be a little bit difficult to pull that out because, you know, I have small hands and I can comfortably fit it in, but for men or with bigger hands, it might be a little uncomfortable. As for leg room, considering that this is one of the smallest cars in the Genesis lineup, I think that it gives you enough leg room. For me, maybe it's because of my seat position, it's being pulled up, but still, you have a lot of room between your knees and the back of the driver's seat, and even with the foot as well, with the feet, you have enough room to move around. So that's a big plus factor. And in terms of the seat position, you have the backrest that is fully at an incline. And now let's pull it up. If you're the kind of person who wants to sit upright in the back seat, you still have the adjustments. It goes all the way because you can fold them down as well. And in terms of the materials, it's the same kind of soft leather that's been used for the driver's seat as well. I do really like it. I would have much preferred it if they didn't have the perforated seats and not the quilting and just the simple type of leather seats, as you can see here. But then again, that's also my preference. You also have the air vents and the controls for the HVAC in the second row, so that's a plus. You have 2 USB compartments and 1 plug-in for the 220 volts. So this is also a plus factor if you want to have kids in the back seat with their iPads or tablet PCs and they run out of batteries, you can just simply plug it in. And you can also have the armrest being pulled down. It's a very simple, and it's not that wobbly, so I like it. In a lot of the cars, you feel that it's very flimsy and wobbly for the armrest, but it's very sturdy, it's nice. You also have 2 cup holders in the armrest here. If you don't need it, if you want the center seat, then you can just fold it back up. And now the center tunnel. For this car, the center tunnel is quite big. In fact, it's almost up to my ankles. And if you want to switch from seat to seat, then it will be quite a big hindrance. But if you're sitting in this center seat, I think it's a little bit uncomfortable because it's very hard for this part for your backrest, and because of the armrest, it kind of sticks out. It protrudes a little bit. You also have the sun visors that you can pull up and put them on these hinges. I wouldn't never really use this myself, even if I were sitting in the back seat, but there are some people who actually look for them. For the sunshades. So if you don't want to get your windows tinted, then this is also a good option to have. So now we're taking the car out for a test drive, and automatically after we use the satellite navigation, I see the augmented reality camera or the satellite navigation that goes along with it. It's a little confusing because it's a bit late. So when you're driving on the roads and you need to be agile, I think that this might be even a hindrance to smooth driving. So try not to focus too much on the AR view. I also have the head-up display adjusted to my height. I can see it well now, and it's quite clear. You don't have that much that you see, only the speed where you're going and the destination that I've set up. It's pretty quiet inside the car, and it's also a smooth ride. It's the 3.5 liter turbo, but it's not very rough and tough. It's quite a smooth and quiet ride. And even the suspension too, I think it's quite soft. One note about the suspension, this has the preview suspension abilities or functions, and so you have the varying damper that's been applied. It will read in advance the speed bump and try to soften up the suspension so that you have a more comfortable ride. When you're changing lanes, you also get the camera on each side. If you're trying to move onto your left, then you'll get a camera that appears on your left. So when you're doing a U-turn, oh, it's not too bad. I looked at how wide the turning angle is for this car, considering that this has a slightly longer wheelbase. But it's actually better than the car that I drive, which has a very wide angle, but this one wasn't too bad. The bigger the car and the longer the wheelbase, sometimes it takes a couple of tries to get that perfect U-turn in, but I just did it in one try. So in terms of acceleration, it speeds up very smoothly and it has no kind of difficulty whatsoever getting up to a certain level. It's very smooth, as with all other Genesis models. You don't really get that rough ruggedness of a sporty SUV. It's more along the lines of what you would expect maybe from a GLC rather than an X3. So it's in the same segment, and I believe that some of you might be comparing the BMW X3 as well as the Mercedes GLC. But this, I think, drives closer and more similar to a GLC. We tested the car yesterday, and our tester found that the 0 to 100 kilometers per hour or 0 to 62 miles per hour was 5.5 seconds. So it's not too bad, but then it's an SUV, so you wouldn't really expect this to be in the 4-second range. It's also quite a heavy car too. So this is sports mode, and so I think that you'll be able to hear the difference in the engine sound. There is a little bit more push, especially when you're going uphill, and the car feels a bit heavier in sports mode. I don't know if it's just me or the steering wheel also feels a little bit tighter and heavier as well. Usually I don't really like the lightness of the steering wheel on the Hyundai and Kia models, but it seems that the Genesis is going in a slightly different direction with the steering wheel, hopefully. So you get that little kick with the sports mode when you're accelerating. But I think that maybe because it's an SUV, I feel it's a little unstable in the corners. It's not about whether the car can accelerate to a certain level. It's about that wobbliness on the left to right rolling that you get. It's a little bit more compared to other SUVs that we've recently tested. So our tester also feels that they're getting motion sickness. I completely agree, because overall the suspension is electronically managed, and so it's not as stiff as I would want it, especially in a sports mode. The plus side is probably that it's an easy and comfortable drive. The downside is that for those who want the plus mode and who are investing in the 3.5T, might not be able to get the excitement and the driving dynamics that they wanted. So at the moment I'm looking at the mileage of the car, and we've gone 33 kilometers, and of course it was an urban drive, it was an in-city drive, but still the mileage stands at 5.3 kilometers per liter, which is equivalent to around 12.4 or 12.5 miles per gallon. So that's very surprising and disappointing at the same time, because it's comparable to maybe like a Lamborghini or a Rolls-Royce. If you're thinking about efficiency, maybe this might not be the best car. So guys, what did you think about our review of the GV70 today? Honestly speaking, I'm not sure if I want to spend those extra bucks on getting the 3.5 liter turbo engine. So do tell us what you think down below in our posts, and of course, remember to hit subscribe. See you next time.